everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Female Empowered Podcast. I'm your host, Krista Gurka, and we haven't had one of these in a long time, but I have a guest episode today, and I don't think I've ever done this. We have two guests on, two people. So I'm very excited for this. One of the people that's on here is Latasha Doyle, who's the founder and CEO of Uncanny Content, who's been on my podcast before because she is responsible for anything that has words to do with my business. Like that's what she is responsible for. And she does an amazing job really of helping me with strategy, all of it, really, like all different kinds of strategy, marketing, words, copy, content. Okay. And today we have another uncanny team member, Lauren, Lauren, when did you join the Uncanny team? Because I feel like it's been a long time now, but I don't know, maybe it was only like 6 months ago.
February of 23. So year and a half ago. Yeah.
Were you on my team that whole time?
No, Latasha was protective of you, so she
Okay.
didn't leash me on you for a while.
Okay. I was like, has it been a year and a half? Because I feel like we just started not that long ago. But
I had
Lauren
to earn
has,
my way.
aw. So Lauren's been, well, at least she's been with Uncanny for a year and a half, but working with the Pilates in the Grove and the Krista Gurka team for a while now. And she's just been a joy to have. And it's always nice to have like other input too, of like, how about this? How about this? So we are going to talk today about a topic that I get a lot of questions about, and also something that I struggled with when I was starting to grow my personal brand, in addition to Pilates in the Grove. So, and this is also coming from someone who did not have social media really. Like I had it for the business, I didn't really have a personal one. And so learning what to post, who to be, how to come on authentically, how one can impact the other, either positively or negatively. Um, and I know a lot of our listeners, either they're starting mentorships or memberships or want people to come to their classes or things like that. And so how I really wanted these two incredible women to come on and answer some questions about how we can do that from a content business kind of way. I can't think of English words. This is why I have Lauren and Latasha on my team. So real quick, Latasha, for those people that have not heard about you, can you just kind of give a brief overview of Uncanny and how you work with business owners?
Yeah, so Uncanny Content is a content marketing agency. And when we say content marketing agency, we mean all of the content that you create to market your business. So things like social is usually what people default to, but it's actually your website and your funnels and how you get those introductory offers and where you're showing up in your community and all these things, right? Because they all go hand in hand with how you market, how you show up. But we help businesses with all of those pieces. We also help with the strategy piece, kind of talking them through like, okay, you said you want to do this by the end of the year. Here are the pieces that we need to kind of put in place to make sure that that happens, or to at least get data to see if it's working. We also talk a lot to people about personal brands versus their actual business brands, because what tends to happen is people they work really hard to build their business, and then they have the little thing that they want to do on their own, or they're called to kind of do something else. And they feel that tug of like, I have my business, this is the core of my revenue and my income, it's stable, I don't want to mess that up, but like there's this other thing. I want to do this other thing. And so we kind of specialize in helping businesses with that. You're not our only multi-brand client.
You actually specialize with people, with women specifically that do this, right? That have a brick and mortar or a one business vertical and then have a personal brand, correct?
Yep. Most of our clients have multiple businesses. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's great. Okay. Are you ready to get in the questions?
Definitely.
Beautiful. Okay. I'm going to ask you this one first, Lauren. What are the key elements of a strong personal brand for specifically boutique fitness owners that differs from like their business or their studio brand?
With your studio or business, you're often trying to imbue expertise across your team. So you're trying to present your whole business as being filled with people who know exactly what they're doing and really professional and expert experience. And that often is related to a specific niche of service. So Pilates, PT, all of like the recovery services, nutrition coaching, whatever that might be, you're trying to talk about expertise there. The same thing you're going to have to do on your personal brand, but it's probably going to be across a different kind of service providing. You will need to be an expert in experiencing Pilates classes for your Pilates studio, but you need to be an expert at leading other Pilates instructors in your personal brand, unless you're trying to sell separate classes. So you need to have a clear understanding of who is your audience for both. And that is going to be one of the critical steps to setting up a personal brand is, why do you even need it?
Right.
And I think it can be, sometimes business owners get excited to just have a different avenue of creativity. And I think that that can be really powerful for staying active in content creation. But the way that it's going to be strategic is if you have an understanding of, what do I need to do over here that I can't or shouldn't do on the business side? So navigating, do you have specific paid offers that you're trying to build up on under a personal brand? And is there a reason why they need to live there versus under your business? And then if you're just trying to establish having people know who you are and name recognition to build your other business, that's valid too, of just having more flexibility of being able to be the face versus for a brick and mortar where you're like, I don't want people to necessarily only be looking for me here, because I want them to take classes from other instructors. I want them to hire the other PTs in my studio, and I don't want to have to be there 24/7 for people to feel like they're getting the full clinic experience.
Right. So what I'm hearing you, well, correct me if I'm wrong. What I think I'm hearing you say is that, so especially when people have studios that have multiple team members, right? The studio brand is like what you do. And then your personal brand is more like who you are personally. Yes, no,
Yes.
similar. Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Latasha,
Well,
what were you going to
So
say?
so I always think of the business brand as the business. Like it's very hard because we built it, right? Like Uncanny, I always say it's my baby. It really is. It still has elements of my personality in it, but then I could also go and start, maybe Latasha Doyle Consulting, and it would be my personal brand, but I would still have to think of it as a business. I would still need to kind of detach myself from the brand because your audience is who the brand is for. So at the end of the day, if you're saying that like, oh, this is my personal brand, so I'm going to do it this way, but your audience is like, I really want to work with you, but you're not giving me what I want, that's a big disconnect and a friction point that I see happen a lot. Sorry
Yeah.
to cut you off, Lauren.
What were you going to
no.
say, Lauren?
Oh, that I'll just add on to what Latasha was saying, that do you want a personal brand to be personal, or do you want a personal brand to be a business? Right? Like,
That's a great distinction.
you
Yes.
can just have a personal Instagram if you just want to post photos of your kids and photos of your dog, and you just want to like share, like, here's my photo dump for August, and it's from a camping trip and when you made cookies. Like, Instagram is still a lovely place to be able to save and share that type of thing. But having the intention of, is this just personal or is it a personal brand? To what Latasha
Yes.
was saying, that like, if you are trying to build and sell, you need to have your audience in mind. Because if you're posting nothing but personal content and you're like, well, of course I'm a coach, but you look
Yeah.
at your content and you're like, you never talk about who you serve or how you serve or why we'd want to. You look like you really cook great eggs, which is lovely, but it doesn't connect to what you then are looking for me to buy from you.
Right. Well, that's definitely not my personal Instagram. So you're definitely not using me as an example. There's no cooking going on my personal Instagram. But what I will say, I think so I can be, so Krista Gurka is a personal brand. I sell my coaching and consulting stuff. I do share some of my life, but it's not all my life. But I can be a little more who I am and my personal brand than what I will show necessarily on Pilates in the Grove. So I curse a lot. We already talked about this. People in my personal brand and in my world know this, but I would never do that on the Pilates and the Grove brand, because to me, it's just different. I don't curse in front of my team, maybe, but not in front of my clients. I don't curse when I teach. So it's just a way for people to know me still as a professional, but a little bit more authentically who I am.
Well,
Right?
That's your audience too.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, your audience, the PT biz owners and the Pilates studio owners, they want somebody who's no bullshit. And
Right.
that's you on the Krista Gurka side. Whereas people, when they come to Pilates, they want it to be the Pilates and the Grove brand. It's very polished, it's very gorgeous, it's very demure, it's very mindful, it's all those things, right? And it's very
But on the
different between
Krista Gurka brand, I am not demure and I am not mindful. So we should talk about that, Lauren. We should add that to my real strategy. Pilates in the Grove, demure and mindful. Krista Gurka, not.
Well,
So
like not bringing your own socks to class, not mindful,
not,
not demure.
oh, see,
Talking to your neighbor throughout class, not mindful, not demure.
this is why you have to hire Uncanny Content. This is why you
Quietly
have to
changing
hire them.
your tension without asking the teacher 8 times what they've instructed. Very mindful, very demure.
Oh my gosh, I love it. This is why you have to hire them, because they come up with things like that. Like that. Okay. I'm already writing this down because I did look at my October strategy and I don't know that was in there, but I'm going to make a reel about it right now. It might go in before October. Okay. Let me look at my questions. Okay. So let's take Pilates studio. Let's just take Pilates studio owners. Okay. So they have a studio. Most of us are the instructors when we start. So we're the technicians. How can we leverage, if we want to start a personal brand, how can we leverage our personal brand to actually benefit the studio?
Depends on what they want their personal brand to be.
Okay, so great question. Let me be Chat GPT and teach me how to prompt better prompts. Okay. I want to start educating. I'm a really good Pilates instructor and I want to start educating other Pilates instructors on how to, whether it be cue a certain way or how to see things in their clients. So how can I take that will also then benefit Pilates in the Grove, and they can be like mutually beneficial?
I mean, that's a Pilates teacher training, right? It's
Yep.
just, but you are the expert. You are the one leading the classes. So you can go in and if you know a Pilates instructor and you're like, hey, I'm going to be teaching this class, here's my card, whatever. That's still you promoting something that is still cross-pollinated with the business, right? So, for like at Pilates in the Grove, you teach the special populations workshop.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I see Krista out and about in the coaching space. I know that she helps me build a killer Pilates studio. Like, I want to learn from her. And then I see that at her studio, she's doing a special populations workshop. I'm 100% signing up for that because she knows her shit over here. She's definitely going to know her shit over here. And while, yes, I'm technically paying the studio for that service, it's because I'm going to be in front of Krista and I want to be there in front of Krista.
Yep.
Those things are very mutually beneficial and it creates a like symbiotic relationship of Pilates in the Grove is known in this space, Krista is known in this space, and they actually do work together. Your personal brand doesn't have to cross your business brand like that, but when they do, it's nice.
It works. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have an instructor, Terry, who has grown organically to over 30,000 followers organically. And she actually gets people that will be in, we live in Miami, so a lot of people vacation here. So people that follow her on Instagram and want to come, like they'll be in Miami, they're like, oh, I want to go take a class with Terry. Or another instructor that follows her on Instagram is going to be visiting and wants to go take a class. So it's not like, maybe some people will build their whole business on it, but it really is just leveraging community anywhere that could maybe eventually like transition into sales and revenue. So, okay. So in terms of, so we just talked a little bit about social media. right? So if we have a personal brand on social media, which is how most people see personal brands. But what are some other platforms if people are like, social media is the bane of my existence? Like, what are some other platforms where people can use or promote their own personal brands?
I'm going to start and then I want Lauren's thoughts. Um, First thing that I see is people who want to start a personal brand or who kind of have a personal brand, they make the mistake of putting their personal brand mixed in with their business brand. So it would be like if you had the Pilates on the Grove site and you also had a little button at the top that said coaching with Krista. And then it's like, wait, am I here for Pilates or am I here for coaching with Krista? They muddy those waters because they're just trying to like get it up and like, I need a place to show people that I offer this to. And I understand. But once you're sure that you have an offer that you want to actually offer people, it's time to either create a landing page. You can do that with your email tools. It's not hard. I promise you it's not hard. Or you can buy a website for $30 and get a page up that says, Krista Gurka coaching. Interested? Click here to learn more. Then it just like directs you to like your coaching colleague or something. It does not have to be hard. It does need to be separate. This is one of the first things I see people kind of shitting the bed's not the right way to say it, but it's the only it's the only way that comes to mind for me.
Very
I want
graphic,
you to
not
thank
very
you.
demure, not very demure, not very mindful.
I want you, listener, to actually be thinking about how these two things are separate rather than mushing it in with what you currently do. Unless it is that it's just a one-to-one thing that you offer through your studio. So let's say you do Pilates and you have Pilates group classes, and then it's just, hey, if you want a one-to-one with Bob, Bob doesn't have to create a whole new website for that. Bob can actually just have a one-to-one offer, one-to-one Pilates with Bob. That's all it has to be. But if you're a Pilates studio and you own the Pilates studio and you want to do Reiki, you either have to find a way to integrate that on your website and make sure that it goes under your offers and it goes through your business LLC and therefore your business bank account, or you need to make it separate because you do it through your house or you do it at their house and you have to do it under a different name. You have to kind of know what the offer is and how you want to present it. And if it is separate, it needs to look separate.
Yeah.
That's my
Lauren,
rant.
Lauren, what are your thoughts?
So some places that business owners kind of stumble is that they've already built a successful business and they want to use that as a launching pad for their personal one, which is often where that muddy happens because they're like, well, I have an audience of 2,000, 10,000, 30,000. So like, I want to use that audience, but it often then hurts your original business because you're coming in here of like hey, you guys don't remember me because now I've built this whole team and I'm not actually on here very much. And now I'm also talking about an offer that doesn't align with this audience very much. Like how the workshop example I think is perfect, that when you are promoting a class for students on a Pilates studio page, you're going to speak very positively about how you make corrections, right? You're going to talk about how you make corrections, adaptations for different people. It's going to be very positive and easy. But on your coaching page where you coach other Pilates instructors, you're probably going to be a little bit more honest about the challenges involved in making adjustments or the challenges in working with a class of people with very mixed abilities. And that's not something that you're probably going to talk about on the studio side because you don't want students to feel like, oh, I'm an inconvenience by having a different ability than somebody else, or like if I need adjustments, the teacher's going to be annoyed. But the truth is that like they need to learn how to do this. So understanding that like your audience for different offers, you can't just piggyback off the success of your business, even though it can be really tempting. And then as far as like actual platforms to grow it on, especially if you've grown an organic following for your business, sometimes I think it can be nice to explore another one. So depending on the type of content that feels easy to build. So if you like writing, you could start a Substack, which is like blog posts / newsletters. It's articles. And it can be a really great place to build yourself up as an expert and a leader in its own platform separate, and it can just be under your name. It could also be something that you explore on Threads, where it is just like your little picture and where you're giving short snippets and you're sharing more of like the behind the scenes of what it looks like running your business if you're approaching doing business coaching. But if you're worried about moneying, or if you're not sure how to differentiate, I think starting on like a new platform can be helpful so that it feels totally separate, that you're like, my Pilates studio is doing really great on Instagram, but I want to start building myself up as a business coach or a Pilates teacher for teachers. I'm going to get on TikTok and I'm going to explore what it means to position myself over there. So that you can have the delineation a little bit more rather than being tempted of like, well, I'll just post this on my studio page.
Yeah.
That's
The
actually
other thing,
really good advice. I thought I never thought of that. Like, if to not be muddy, just go on a completely different platform.
yeah. And then you don't have to toggle back and forth between accounts because that does get annoying.
Yes. That's my
The other
daily
piece I
life.
want to piggyback onto what Lauren said, especially about the like you've built this thing to be separate from you, and then to come back and say, I have this offer that's just me. That's like at Uncanny. If I built Uncanny to be not just me writing, not just me delivering strategy, not just me on client calls, and then I'm like, hey guys, I have this one-to-one offer over here. The clients are going to feel like they need to just go work with me one-on-one if it's an
Right.
offer that's similar. Obviously,
Right.
if I'm like coaching copywriters, it's not the same, but it would almost feel like, oh, well, if I can go work with her again, I'm going to go do that when we've done all this work to build a business that exists without us. So that's why when we talk about, especially if your personal brand offers similar services, really try to delineate that so that you're not muddying
Cannibalizing it.
those waters. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the way that I'm thinking about it, well, I mean, people here know my difference, right? So I own and operate, founded and operate a 7-figure sustainable brick and mortar Pilates business and I guess wellness, right? My personal brand is to help other women that want to do the same thing,
Yep.
right? So obviously two different customer avatars. I hate the word avatar, but if you're thinking of it, there are two different customer avatars, right?
Yes.
If I wanted to also train Pilates instructors, to be honest, it could kind of still go under my Pilates and the Grove Band because I would
Yeah.
have a teacher training program, right? Which
Yeah.
is similar. Okay. So the way that I see, especially some of the women that are in the inner circle or even in Fit Biz Foundations, would be they have this expertise, right? That they are delivering to consumers.
Yes.
They can also create a personal brand that's an expertise that they deliver to other professionals, right? So if we have a lot of pelvic health businesses in our circle, right? So they provide pelvic health services to their local community through brick and mortar. They're also really wicked smart women, right? And so they can also teach young therapists how to do this. Correct? Would that be like a good example of business and then personal brand?
Yes. It would.
It would. Yeah. So if somebody is thinking that, maybe, and you can use, actually, let's do this before we go into that. Can you share also whether you want to share your own clients or just other examples of like people that have a business and then also have a personal brand that is, I would say, like similar, not someone that has like a business and then has a personal brand that's like
Yeah.
totally out in left field.
Yeah. Lauren, what were you going to say about the example that Krista gave?
Oh no, we can keep going.
Okay. So for example, we have actually one of the inner circle members. She has a dance fitness studio. She also offers one-to-one nutrition coaching. So
Yes.
currently that is kind of offered under the same umbrella, but she wants it to be separate. She wants to like separate it out a little bit better. That's a really good example of something where it's like you could technically smash it under there. You could, but that's something that she doesn't necessarily want the studio to be known for. She doesn't want people to just be signing up because they would be signing up with her, things like that. She's trying to remove herself from the studio, right? She's trying to create that separation. Outside of like the PT or wellness business, we have clients who they were service providers like us, and now they've moved into template shops. So it's just their templates that they've created. It's just them. It's not like, them and a team. It's just, I've created these templates, here you go kind of thing. Or they've gone from coaching to one-on-one services, like, hey, I'm a coach, a business coach. And then if you pay enough, I'm going to help you do all this stuff, but that's over here on this one-on-one side. Lauren, do you have any other examples? I could keep going.
No, I think those are really comprehensive. You can also list more, but the delineation to me feels like, is it going to be jarring for an audience to hear about this offer?
Yep.
Does it feel like, without having to, do you have to put a square peg in a round hole to make it fit for your audience? Because if it's feeling like it's going to be really challenging to have consistent messaging that warms up towards because if you're doing all like fitness classes and then like the recovery, that type of stuff, all of it is about like physical wellness. And we can talk about all different ways of treating and caring about your body and why it matters, and about the studio space, and all of it still leads towards ultimately getting into the studio doors, versus a virtual nutrition coaching, which you're going to be trying to get them to opt into something that's not in person. They're not coming to the studio. It's only with one person. It's going to be booked through a different scheduler. Like, it's just really starts feeling like the way we need to talk about the how and why of this is different than everything else.
True.
And it's going to be weird to be like, oh, I thought they were talking about, oh, I heard they do virtual classes. And someone's like, no, they're like a studio. And they're like, no, I definitely saw them talking about virtual classes.
Yeah.
And it was really that it was just the one thing about virtual coaching.
Yeah.
But people move quickly and they read quickly. So you don't want to create confusion about how you execute with people.
Confusion loses clients 100%.
For sure. And I was going to say that is one thing that I see people making a mistake on, whether it be in their brick and mortar studio or their personal brand, is I'm like, I don't know what you do. Like, it's very confusing. Are you selling templates? Are you coaching people? Do you have this online program? Like, are you an affiliate marketer? Because you're talking about so much shit that I know who you are, and I'm still confused as to what you do, right? So how, from you guys and being the experts and the professionals, how do you help? One, do you see that and do you agree? And two, how do you help these people like narrow their funnel or start small and teeter up, like whatever the process is that you use? Either of you can answer.
I mean, I will say that having a lot of offers at all different levels of your offer ladder it's very common. It's just the crux of being an entrepreneur.
Guilty.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, I created
Guilty.
this thing. And it's like, of course you did. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Krista.
Guilty.
But
We're
I think it's
multi-passionate individuals.
exactly. I think the biggest thing is knowing. So what happens is usually you have a conversation with somebody and they say, I need this, I love this from somebody. And you're like, I can do that. So you create the offer. That is being an entrepreneur. Being a really sound business owner is being able to turn that offer into something that sells to more than just that one person. And you hone your offer ladder so that okay, this person came to me, they were already like a fairly, let's say, quote unquote, sophisticated buyer. They knew their problem. That's rare. They knew they wanted to work with you. That's even more rare. And they had the money to buy. That's even more rare. So like they were already at the top of your level, right? You're going to have conversations with other people who are like, oh, I wish I had, a Pilates studio in the area. And you're like, I'm right here, dude. I'm right here. So there's just all these tiers where you have to know your audience. You have to know where they're coming from, where they're buying from. And then if you're realizing as somebody goes up that ladder, like, oh, wait, that offer doesn't even apply to the people that I'm serving anymore. It needs to go, or it needs to move into like a personal brand.
Can you
So like for
describe for people that might not know what an offer ladder is,
offer
what
ladder,
that looks
sorry.
like?
Yeah.
That's okay.
So think of it like an actual ladder, right? So like they start at the bottom rung. Everybody starts at the bottom of the ladder and then they climb their way up. So like for you, you have an introductory offer at Pilates in the Grove. That is ladder rung 1. Ladder rung 2 is maybe a class pack, right? Or, you get 3 classes and you get free socks, whatever. And then ladder 4 is you want a monthly membership because you love it here. And then ladder number, I don't even know, 3 or 4 at this point, you're like, oh, you love it here. You want a monthly membership, but you want first dibs on all the spots. So you want to upgrade to like our premium membership. And then it's also, we offer Pilates, or sorry, one-to-one Pilates. We offer PT. We offer these services. You get a discount. So it's like there's this way that you can continue to extend the lifetime value of a client, right? Where it's just
Right.
like it's not just like, oh, I'm selling you into something new all the time because you don't need it. It's because I can get money from you. It's I know the next thing that you need. And what happens is when we're multi-passionate and we have things that we want to do, we kind of throw things at the ladder and it's like, oh, that person at this rung said they wanted this. But it's like if you were talking to somebody about their monthly membership and they're like, oh man, I wish you guys offered nutrition coaching. And you're like, done, I offer nutrition
Right.
coaching. But that not everybody wants that at that ladder rung, right? So you're going to
And
start
it's
to
also
see,
not good. It's also not good. It could not be good for your business because it might pull you
yeah,
away from
exactly.
doing what you're really going to do, right? Like, do you guys have Smoothie King where you guys
Yeah.
are? Do you? Okay. Smoothie King starting acai bowls is the stupidest fucking add-on service ever. It takes them so much longer because they have to
Oh no.
stop and make all this stuff. Whoever let that come to fruition needs to be fired because the beauty of Smoothie King is that you order, it's a process. They go blend, put the sugary stuff in, blend it, pop it out, give it to you. When that one person that comes in orders an acai bowl, they jack up the whole process.
Yeah.
I
Sorry
And
on my
no, you're
tangent.
fine.
Keep going.
Relevant. Go ahead, Lauren.
I was just gonna say the aspect of the profitability of an offer, like we haven't even touched on that, but to your point of just because you're excited about it and just because someone wants to buy it does not mean that it's a profitable offer for you to add. And just to Latasha's point of understanding what do people need next, and then are you the one to do it for them? And
Great
can
point.
you execute it in a way that makes sense for your expertise and your time? And it might not be something you're ready for now. That's something we've dealt with clients of if they have fallen in with certain coaches that they are really excited for a one-to-many offer. They're excited to launch a course or a membership, but they don't have any experience working one-on-one with people. I'm a firm believer that you need to test your um your formulas
Yeah.
and your expertise and get feedback from business owners in different places, in different states, and different places of business in different physical places before you can create a course that guarantees success to a broad base of people. So yes, you might have a lot of experience, you might have a lot of knowledge to share, but that doesn't necessarily mean a course is the first place to start. But if that is where you want to start, you are on like a different business building journey than someone who establishes themselves as an expert, works one-to-one with a lot of people, getting a lot of understanding of like, okay, this is how it worked for me. Here's how it worked for all of my clients. And it worked for you in 2019, but it's 2024 and the world is different. So like
Very.
how did the techniques that worked for you from 2016 to 2019, what is still working and what needs to get trashed and what needs to get evolved?
Yeah.
I think that the beautiful thing about entrepreneurs, especially in this space, is that you want to help people,
Mhm.
right? Is that like, oh, I can do that for you. Oh, we can help you get better. We can do whatever we need to like help this person, right? It's obviously revenue, it's obviously innately charged, but it's this element of really knowing what your business brand does well and what you as a person want to provide people And if those two are not really aligned because the offer doesn't scale, or that thing that you just said yes to is really hard for everybody else on your team to deliver, that is sort of the delineation, right? Is that like, oh, okay, this maybe is just a me thing that like I need to think about. And you can still help people. I'm not saying that you can't like offer something new and then realize like, okay, that's not really going to be a scalable thing. The beauty of this is that your offers can change. They can migrate, they can go away, they can poof out of existence, right? Um, there's this element of being young, scrappy, and hungry that I don't want people to stop being, but I want them to just think a little bit harder about how it benefits their business and the audience that they have there. And if it doesn't benefit the business and the audience, then maybe it needs to live somewhere else.
Right. I think that's great advice from both of you. I also think you're right. I think people, well, one, I think it's always like, I think people are afraid of the money they're going to leave on the table. So like if one person's like, oh, I want to try this, or like, oh, let's just offer it. And I'm guilty of this as well. So the issue becomes like, do you water down your services so much that like what you're really known for is no longer there, right? So like for example, the business you're talking about that has a movement studio, like one of their selling propositions is they have a lot of modalities. They have yoga and dance and Zumba and weightlifting. So their unique selling proposition is that come to one location and get all of the variety. Whereas my unique selling proposition in Pilates is like, we are the Pilates experts in South Florida. So if you're looking for the best Pilates, this is a place to come. One, I'm not saying that another one, but I'm talking specifically to a specific type of person. Right. So, and we've had opportunities before where people are like, oh, we should do TRX. Oh, we should add this. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, we can, but that's going to deter us,
Yeah.
from what we really sell. And Latasha's been working with me for a while on the personal brand too. And I just want to help everybody. So I'm like, oh, we should do this now. We should do this now. And that's not sustainable, unfortunately.
It's not sustainable, and also
Confuses people.
it confuses people, and it's a tad woo to think about it this way, but when you focus your energy on something and you know that that's where you want to focus your energy, it just attracts the right people to you, right? So like
Correct.
when I first started copywriting, I was like, I don't care. I wrote a plumbing catalog, you guys. I wrote about nuts and bolts and U-bends. It was the worst thing I've ever done in my whole life. And I didn't want to do it going into it, but I had to for the sake of money, right? And then guess what happened? That dude referred me to like three of his friends, and I was like, I am not that person. And I could say, I don't want to do this. I want to focus this way. And I could say no. It sucked at the time. It sucked to say no to that money. But as soon as I said, I'm going to focus on this because that's the way I want to go, these are the offers that I want to offer, I got more clients.
You're so
More things
right.
happened. Trust that your skill set and the business that you're building is going to work out without trying to throw shit at the wall to see what sticks.
Mhm. That's a good piece of advice. So, okay, let me wrap up with if you, and I'm going to ask you, I'll go start with you, Lauren. I'm going to ask both of you the same question. If a client was coming to you with a brick and mortar wellness brand, fitness, wellness, and they're like, I'm really interested in also starting my own personal brand. Let's just keep it simple to educate other professionals that are just like me. What do you think is the lowest barrier to entry to get them to just start? I wonder if you'll say the same thing. Or I'm going to say you can't say the same thing. Go ahead. You have to pick different answers now.
My first reaction is, what is their capacity? So if are they also the content creator and marketer for the brick and mortar? If
Yeah.
so, are we sharing those duties now with other members of the team to make space for this personal brand? Because I'm a nervous human of job security. So I don't want to sacrifice the success and stability of a brick and mortar to build something new. So my brain goes, okay, so how do we create a system to establish consistency for the brick and mortar and keep that going? And then the next piece would be, okay, so how much time and energy do we want to put into building the personal brand? Is it for fun to see if it takes off? Or is this something that we're going to set really concrete goals of within 3 months, I want XYZ to happen, and within 6 months, I want to see XYZ to happen? Because that will change the quantity and quality of content that I would recommend they start making for it.
You are so smart. You seriously are. You are very mindful and very demure. I love it. So good. What a great question. No, that's so true. I was like, oh God, that's right. Like what is your capacity to do this? And what are your actual goals? All right.
I
You're
don't
gonna have
want to
to
say no to fun. And so
no, but
we
that's from your job as the expert, it helps you create the place of how can I give you what the lowest barrier to entry is based on what your goals are. Right. So that was excellent. So now you're gonna have to top that, Latasha. You have to go behind Lauren.
I say proof of concept. If you're telling me that you want to add something to
Mhm.
either your existing brick and mortar or you want to create a personal brand, the first thing I'm going to say is, does it sell?
And so
And
what
if
if they don't know yet? They want to test the waters.
I want you to actually show me proof of concept, because what's happening is people are really going deep on something. They're investing a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, and they're just like putting all their eggs in that one basket.
Mhm.
And they haven't even talked to anybody about it yet. It's like, well, you could actually be talking about it as you build it. You could be, so like, let's say they want to teach other professionals, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so you're building this course. That's great. Do you have one professional that you could talk to and just say, like, hey, can I offer you a free 30-minute coaching
Mhm.
session?
Mhm.
Because I want to walk through a couple of points and I want to see if they make sense to you.
Yeah.
It's a free coaching session. I'm not even saying proof of payment. I don't need that. I need to know that what you're going to be talking to somebody about is actually what they need from you.
Yeah.
And the reason that I need that is because from a messaging standpoint, a marketing standpoint, if somebody doesn't need what you're selling, no amount of great copy, no amount of great ads is gonna fucking work.
Yeah.
And that's where I
Or
get defeated because I want you to succeed.
yeah. And need is one thing, but willing to pay for it is another thing,
Yeah,
right?
most people are actually willing to pay for it
Most
with
people
the
are.
expectation that it gets them the results
Yeah.
that they
Listen,
want.
I need a massage every day, but I don't know that I'm willing to pay for a massage
Exactly.
every day. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. I think because I think some people are like, everyone needs that. I'm like, I know, but I don't know that
Yeah.
everyone needs to know how to tie their shoes, but is someone gonna pay someone else to tie their shoes for them? I guess is the
Listen,
way.
we
So
do offer strategy and marketing strategy and copywriting. And I
or
will argue till the last breath that I exhale that every business owner needs what we do.
I true.
And they'll tell you they don't. They think they got it down on they think they got it down. It's the same thing, right? Like if I were
Yeah,
to say, like, without a doubt, everybody needs my offer, but I wasn't willing to actually offer it to somebody to see if they actually need it, I don't have proof of concept.
true.
You need proof of concept.
Yeah. This is why these two women working together on your team are just like the best thing ever. The best thing ever.
To Lauren's
So
point, capacity first. If you don't have
that's
the time to start another personal brand, don't do
that's
it,
true.
please God.
That's true.
Wait.
That is true. But I do like the fact of like, hey, I'm so for Krista Gurka, for example, the
Mhm.
way it randomly started was I started presenting at conferences about
Yeah.
business. And then people started saying, oh, that was so good. Can I email you? Yeah, no problem. And then it got to the point that like too many people were emailing me and I didn't have
Yeah.
the capacity to just be answering emails all the time. And then I was like, huh, if people are asking me questions, then I must have a solution to their problem. So maybe I can create this thing that makes it easier for other women. Right. And so
And that's
just
proof of
kind of
concept.
that is proof of concept. Right. But all of that stuff was free until I started
Yeah.
selling it. And then I was like, oh, now people will pay for it. And then I was like, but at first, I didn't have the capacity to do a lot. Right.
Yep.
Because that's the other thing when people ask me, oh, I want to start a membership or a mastermind or all this stuff as a people pleasing person that likes to over deliver, I have gotten myself into situations too where I'm like, One, that feels awful to me. Like, this is not where I want to be spending my time or day or energy. I'm just not that type of person, for example, right? And two, I don't have the bandwidth to do it. So it's exactly the reason why we've talked about why we keep the inner circle at 10, 12 women, because I offer a one-on-one coaching call with all of them every month because I love that. I like that. I'm happy to give them. And I think that that was one of the things that makes my program different than other programs is they get the group and the personalization at the time. But I don't have the energetic bandwidth to give 25 people a one-on-one call every month. I just don't. And so I've learned to, like, okay, with Latasha's help, say no to certain things. And she knows me enough now that she's like, I don't know that you're going to want to do that for a long time. So maybe we just don't offer it. So the other thing is, if you're going to work with people, get people that are not just going to be yes men or yes women, that are going to give you active, like actual tangible feedback. And you as the business owner or the client have to be open to that, right? You can have a dialogue or a back and forth, but you have to be open to other people telling you what they see in terms of your business or your messaging and stuff. So
There's there are coaches and there are consultants and then there are peers. And I feel like something that we do differently, and I think Krista, you do it with your clients too, is that if a client comes to us and they're like, I want to launch a personal brand, some people would just be executors that they'd be like, great, so we need to build a website, we got to get your profile up, we got to do all this. Whereas my first question is, cool, tell me why. Tell me the motivation, tell me what we're trying to achieve with this, because we have so much data about their business at that point that we can then figure out of like, okay, where is this coming from? And like you're talking about Latasha with you of like, is this coming up because it's July and you're bored?
mhm.
But when we get to December, you're going to wish you had never launched this. And there's nothing wrong with understanding like seasonality in your business and leaning into like, cool. So like in the summer, I can offer more one-on-one calls,
Mhm.
but they have to be one-off ones because I can't promise that I can still give those in December and January.
Yeah. And that's why, again, working with people like you is great, because you're going to uncover, does this person just needs to go sign up for a crocheting class from July 1st to August 1st to give them that feeling that they're learning something new, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell people if they're interested in just one brick and mortar wellness studios in general, or where they can find you guys and how they can reach out. What is the is do most people do the intensive when they start working with
Yeah.
you, or is that, yeah? So do you want to give a little
Yeah.
feedback? I mean, background on that?
So we offer strategy intensives, and that is where we kind of dig into what your business is, what it stands for. If you are in the middle of a split or you're curious about a split, that would be where we discuss, is this something that you need to do? How can we do it with your current brand? How can we migrate it out slowly? But we start out everybody on a strategy intensive now. So you basically get on a 2-hour call with us. We blast you with a ton of questions, but they're really fun. Everybody says these calls are really fun. Lauren and I love them. But we get to know you, your business, and your goals moving forward. And then depending on your actual goals, whether it's to split out your brands, or if you have, a client or a membership goal that you want to hit, or you're opening another location, or whatever it may be, we create a content plan for you that's kind of showing you how to show up in the different ways that you need to show up. If you would be building out another brand, another platform, we'll show you how to like kind of migrate those two so that you're not wondering what to post on Instagram, if it's you or the personal brand, or, all those questions that roll through your head. But we always start with the strategy intensive now. So that would be the first place that I recommend, whether you want to build a personal brand or you just need help with like a current business goal. You can find us at uncannycontent.co. There's no M. You hit the M, it won't take you anywhere, and you're going to be really sad. Okay. And then we're on Instagram at Uncanny Content.
Yes. And Latasha is at every year my annual CEO summit that actually at the time this drops, either I think early bird pricing will already be up and out. So visit my website, kristagurka.com/CEO summit. Latasha's there. She presents. You can get a feel for how she works. If you want to get a feel for how she works, look at my website, look at Pilates in the Grove and Krista Gurka Instagram, listen to my podcast. It's all the Uncanny Content team that helps me do that. Lauren is always giving me great insight on reels, and I'm going to do the demure mindful one literally as we get off this call before I forget. And that's it. Do you guys have any parting words for anyone?
Lauren.
Have fun with your marketing.
Yes.
And when you need a break, take one, but don't make it forever.
Oh, that's such a good one. Tasha?
If you want to start a personal brand, make sure that you know why. It's just know why. I want you to know why. Not because you're bored.
Yeah, not because you're bored. There's plenty of things you can go sign up for crocheting classes if you're bored. You can learn a new language. I agree.
I think Krista is curious about crochet classes.
I have no desire, but I did hear was it on a podcast? I can't remember where it was, but someone was talking about how to thrive like in midlife, and I'm officially in midlife. So they were like, after 55, you should be a beginner at something every year. So it got me into thinking like, I mean, it could be as simple as trying to play pickleball once a week, like with your friends, but like you should try to be a beginner at something. It keeps like your mind going, it keeps you motivated. So it's not going to be crocheting, but maybe I'll learn another language.
There you go.
And then I'm going to decide to offer it to people in midlife, how you can keep your midlife. Then I'm going to be like, Latasha, Lauren, I want to start another offer.
That would be a different brand.
So no crochet, no more offers from me. So, well, thank you, Uncanny team, Latasha and Lauren. Thank you guys so much, as always, for coming on the podcast. We will link up all their stuff in the show notes. And until next time, my friends, bye for now.